Hello everybody, and welcome to another explanation video. This time, I will try to make sure that there is no really loud ear-piercing audio stuff. So, today we're going to be discussing and analyzing Crimson Heist, Update Crimson Heist. And we're going to go through, and this is obviously the stuff from Neon Dawn, but we're going to go through and talk about what either needs to be addressed or what, I'll read first some of the things, right? So looking at these win rates and pick rates, you can clearly see that Ashe, Sophia, and Ace need some tweaks. I also gave some tweaks to Thatcher and... I gave some tweaks to Thatcher and Twitch. I didn't touch Blackbeard because he just recently got some major changes, so I'm waiting to see how that plays out. I gave some other changes. We'll go into it, right? Going into the other win rates, we have Jaeger, Malusi, Valkyrie. They're getting some major changes. Legion is also getting a few changes here and there, and Mira as well is also getting some changes. Specifically because of the ban rates. As you can see here, Mira's ban rate is extremely high. So we're going to be lowering that ban rate down. We're also, like I said, making adjustments to Malusi and Valkyrie, as well as we didn't really talk too much about Clash because these are all okay. So let me explain very specifically, right? These are mostly all super small updates, other than the new secondary gadgets, right? But other than the new secondary gadgets, these are all tiny, small updates, tweaks, just changing some data here and there. They don't need to create. These shouldn't take a huge amount of time to create, right? Kind of like my quality of life changes. Literally one update, boom, they should be able to change it. It shouldn't be too hard. So, for most of these. Some of these are going to be a little bit harder to implement than others. So, this one should not be... Oh, by the way, just as a legend, whenever you see ROA, that means regardless of armor. I only ever use it twice. I thought I was going to use it more than I did, but that's okay. So, bomb planting checkpoints. I don't know why I made checkpoints two different words. Bomb planting checkpoints. So, when planting the bomb, if past 50% progress, it will save your progress from up to 40% less. So, as in, like, 40% less from that point, right? I should probably specify from that point. So, I gave some examples because the examples might help you understand what I'm talking about, right? For example, if you're at 60% of the way through a plant animation and stop the plant, the next time you go to plant, it will already be 20% complete, right? Do you see that where that 40% difference comes in play? So if you are 60% of the way through an animation, the next time you go to plant, it'll be at 20%. So for example, if you're at 65%, then it'll be at 25%, right? If you're at 75%, it'll be at 35%. All the way up to the maximum, which is where if you're 99% of the way through the animation, then it will be 59% complete, which is the maximum amount of time that you could save. So if you're like literally so close to planting the bomb and you either die or get off, the next person who goes to plant, they will already be 59% of the way through the animation. And like I said, you have to be past 50% progress. So if you're at 30% progress, it won't do anything. If you're at 40% progress, it won't do anything. If you're at 49% progress, it won't save your progress to 9%. It will only save your progress if you're past 50%. So you have to be at that halfway mark. And that way, it's kind of like to encourage players to, either be smart with their plant, right? Obviously, you have to stick to plant, but it rewards players for continuing to go with the plant. Yeah, but it also doesn't punish them if they need to, like, watch their back real quick, right? Like, if you're 50% of the way through and you're like, I don't care, I'm going to take it, I'm going to be at 10% when I get off, but that's a 10% bonus, it's better than what it is now. I think that would be really cool. So, new secondary gadgets, obviously I know these will take a lot of development time. I don't expect these anytime soon, because I know these aren't just as simple as pressing a button, So I don't expect these to be developed very quickly. I'll say I don't expect these to be around anytime soon. probably maybe in year 7 or 8. So we have the Pocket ADS, an ADS that can destroy 2 total, but 1 projectile at a time with a massive delay in between, and like 60 or so seconds, right? So I mentioned this in the other video. Basically, you have an ADS, and you either can place it or throw it. I haven't decided which one yet. And like I said, it'll destroy 1 projectile, and then 60 or so seconds later, it's able to destroy another projectile. Next up, you have the Pocket EMP. It's basically like the EMP that Thatcher has, but it can only destroy, you only get 1, and it can only destroy, actually you get 2, sorry. You only get 2, and it can only destroy pocket jammers, signal jammers, bandit batteries, and kite electricals. So it's specifically designed to get through walls, right? Like I said, it's mostly kind of the same way that you use Thatcher, but it disables, I meant to say destroy. I said destroy, I meant to say disabled. Disables an EMP that only disables pocket jammers, signal jammers, and all that stuff, right? So it's meant for helping Thermite get through that wall. Next up, you have the Pocket Jammer, which is what I just mentioned earlier. It's a throwable jammer that is capable of jamming a small area, essentially big enough for 1 wall or hatch. So I've had this idea a long time ago. Before Kaid came out, I had the idea that, man, I wish there was a way to get hatches, and I suggested a Pocket Jammer. Where you can throw it up on a hatch. I wanted a new operator with a pocket jammer where they could throw it onto a hatch and it would jam the hatch. Instead, they came out with Kaid, who electrifies the hatch, which I'm also okay with. But now that we have Kaid Mute and Bandit, I want to go back to that idea, but make it a secondary gadget. So that way you have more opportunity. Siege has evolved a lot, and we are trying to step away from the you are required to have certain operators kind of meta, and diversify it into you can bring, basically whoever you want. You're going to bring whoever is fun, because like I said, like we have the hard breach gadget, so you don't need Thermite, you don't need a hard breacher because you have the hard breach gadget. A hard breacher is always better than having the hard breach gadget, but at least you have something. And it kind of depends on your strategy, right? So yeah, the big idea, that the whole point of this is that like you have operators that are needed, and we want to remove the need for those operators, right? Like you need projectile denial, you need an EMP, or any means of getting through the wall. Now, obviously, now that we have Flores, Cali, and Thatcher, there's a lot of different operators that can get through a wall, but there's only 3, right? Unless if you want to be creative, like shooting, the floor underneath and whatnot, there's only 3 operators that are able, and Twitch, sorry, so you have 4. There are only 4 operators that are able to very effectively get through a wall. I want to increase that by a larger amount. Now, they don't have to give these gadgets to a whole bunch of different operators. They can only give it to like 4 or 5 operators, but yeah, just something to consider. Now, these ideas, they should be able to implement immediately, super simple. Weapon changes, I'll say this, weapon changes, or operator changes, sorry. Operator changes, most should be easily implemented. Able to be implemented almost immediately. So, Ash, for one, definitely is going to be the case. We have the R4C. It's way too strong. Ash is way too strong, and a lot of people are using the R4C. A lot of people are smoking everybody with the R4C. So, you know what? We made her lose the ACOG. She's still too strong. Screw it. No optics. You get only iron sights. If you want to use one of the strongest guns in the game, you have to use the iron sights. No choice. You get rid of that vertical grip too. That accuracy is too good. So technically this isn't a nerf to her accuracy, but it just forces you to choose the less viable option, which would be no grip. Well, there's no reason for you to not use the vertical grip. So remove the vertical grip. It'll give her worse accuracy. Make it a lot less viable. Still, people are going to use Ash because her gun is still good, and she's still a 3-speed that can destroy indestructible gadgets. People are still going to use Ash, but a lot less people are going to use Ash because her R4C is no longer quite as viable as it was before. This is optional. I think this change right here with the R4C is good enough, but optionally, if you want to go even a step further, make it so that she doesn't have the 1.5 on her G36C, and instead of having the EOTech, she has an MH1, and remove the reflex MMR as an option for the G36C. So, basically, essentially, for the G36C, the only options she will have are the red dot sight, which is the micro T1 red dot sight, or the MH1 holographic. So, you get mostly not great sights. They'll function, but they're not great. Next up, Zofia. I don't know how I feel about these too much. So we're saying removed angle grip as an option, right? I think this one is strong, and I think this one is optional. We'll see. Optional. Add 1.5 times. So we remove the 2x scope as an option, right? We're going to get rid of that 2x scope either way. I'm curious to see if people think that we should replace that with the 1.5 times scope or not, because she's strong. Zofia's strong. That's it. That's all I have to say. They removed her withstand. Obviously, that's not going to affect her pick rate in any capacity because nobody's choosing Zofia specifically because of the withstand. So I think a really good way to affect that is to remove some really good options for her. Because look at her. She's at a 70% pick rate. She definitely needs a nerf. And anybody who disagrees doesn't understand how good Zofia is. Her guns are good. And I still want her guns to be good. I just want her to be less viable in the vast majority of circumstances. You know what? I would be interested to do. Let's replace all NATO sites with Spetsnaz sites. Spetsnaz sites. So, instead of having the I guess I should probably, oops. I'm struggling here. So instead of having the EOTech, MH1, not MH1, EOTech, Micro T1, and RMR, instead she will have the OKP, Cretchet M, and Cobra. Because it's an M762. I can see that, and plus, a lot of people don't really like those optics, so that will definitely further cement her role as, I think that would be a very interesting idea. I would not be against that idea. Ace, remove the AK-12, remove the 2x scope. I think that's fine. What I would also be interested in is optional. Replace EOTech with Razor. I think that would be interesting. Because the Razor is pretty underutilized. There's not a lot of operators that would really want to use it nowadays. For all of the options, other than for Aruni with the micro Roni, there's no and Cavero with the M12. There's no circumstances where you would use the Razor over something else. Because, for example, you have the Razor on the 9mm C1, but you also have the 1.5. Exact same deal with the P10 Roni for Mozzie. Exact same deal with the 5.52 Commando for IQ. So, yeah, I think that would be cool. Remove M1014 as an option. Nobody's using the M1014. You're joking yourself if you think people are choosing the M1014 in any competitive sense. No, it ain't happening. Nope. Nobody in their right mind is going to be using the M1014 as an option. So, let's replace it with the Cammers as a weapon option, with the same weapon attachment selections as Buck, with a capital B. So, instead of having basically a non-existent choice between one of the best and most powerful guns in the game and a mediocre shotgun, you instead have one of the best and most powerful guns in the game tweaked down versus a pretty decent DMR. And I'm tempted to do the same with Thermite, but not with the Cammers. What's another DMR? DMRs are pretty underutilized. What's another DMR? Or I might do it with like an SMG, right? Another SMG. Perhaps maybe Thermite would have the K1A, right? Or the MPX. MPX would be an interesting choice. Replace M1014 with the MPX. Or AUG A3, ooh. Yeah, but nobody would really use that. You would want to use a DMR or an LMG, maybe an LMG. Yeah, imagine the M249 SAW. Ooh, okay. So let's say Thermite optional. The whole change is optional. Replace M1014 with M249 SAW. I think that would be interesting. Yeah, I don't know. It's a mediocre change, right? So, sure. Thermite, maybe we'll change the M1014 with the SAW. I think that would be cool. Jaeger needs some changes, so let's do right what we need to do. Remove option for optic, right? Just as Ash, he only has iron sights available. If you're going to choose one of the best, most powerful guns on defense, you're going to use an iron sight, and you're going to like it. Sorry, remove the muzzle brake, compensator, and flash hiders option. So he still gets a vertical grip, but he now no longer has a muzzle attachment that reduces recoil. Instead, he can either choose the extended barrel or the suppressor. That is it. So it gets more. It does mean more mileage for the extended barrel, because I imagine more people are going to choose the extended barrel. But yeah, Jaeger's ADSs can no longer destroy Thatcher's EMP or frag grenades. So if you're going to be tossing frag grenades and whatnot, if you want to destroy frag grenades, you're either going to need the pocket ADS or the Wamai's magnets. And I think that's fine, honestly, by me, because it's so annoying to throw a grenade and have it get destroyed by an ADS. It's just so annoying. So I think that these are mostly good changes, right? I don't know. I think maybe optional also destroy. Let's make this more optional, right? Optional no longer destroys frag grenades. I definitely want it to not destroy EMPs. I know that for a fact. But whether or not it destroys frag grenades, I think, because dying by a frag grenade is really annoying, and if Jaeger can't counter it, then that sucks. So, I don't know. I think that the fact that it can no longer destroy EMPs is a good thing. Melusi. So, I know they're making some tweaks to Melusi. This one might take a bit to implement. So some of these changes might take a bit to implement. These are not going to be as simple as, pressing a button and changing stuff. So, I know that they're currently working on kind of like a hotfix where if you're within range of the Melusi Banshees, you can shoot them and destroy them. I think that this could potentially be an alternative to that if they want to go back to the original idea of it being explosive or bulletproof. Her Banshees will only slow attackers for 6 seconds. My bad. It will only slow attackers for 6 seconds. I added emphasis in the wrong area, so it made it seem like they don't slow attackers now. They do. But instead, they will only slow attackers for 6 seconds before it needs a cooldown. After a certain amount of time, let's say 20 seconds, the Banshee will need to be reactivated again by shooting a sensor on top of it, very similar to a Surrogate. So, the Banshees are no longer going to be anywhere near as impressive. They only slow attackers down for 6 seconds, and that's it. And then after that, maybe let's maybe not say 20 seconds. Let's lower that down to like 3 seconds or so, right? That way you need to actively be playing on your Banshees. You can't just place them, leave them, and then, let it do what it needs to do, right? You need to be actively working with your Banshees to actually utilize them, right? Because they can very easily get slowed down, because I don't like the idea of you being able to shoot the Banshees. I don't really. I really don't. But I like the idea of them slowing people down. But the fact that they slowed down anybody in the range indefinitely, forever, that is the problem. But if you could, you know, sit within a close proximity of the Banshee, just sit there holding an angle for a certain amount of time, and after 6 seconds it stops, then you could go over and, you know, punch it or explode it with an explosive or something like that. That is good. I like this idea. I'm a huge fan of this idea. But I also understand, because I added the thing with the Surya Gate thing with the sensor where you have to shoot it to reactivate it. I also understand that this one might take a lot longer to implement. So we'll see. Valkyrie. This one should not take that long to implement at all. After a certain amount of time, let's say 80 seconds, any cameras that are located outside will be disabled and can no longer be used. So if you throw a camera out in the right after the prep phase is over, after only 80 seconds, it will be disabled, just kind of in the same way that an Echo drone, if it's outside, or a Mozzie capture drone, if it's outside for like 3 seconds, it'll get disabled. That'll be the same case with Valkyrie cameras, but you have a lot more leniency. It'll be available for 80 seconds, and then after 80 seconds, it will no longer be available. So there you go. I also want to do Echo. He gains a 2x scope. Let's also say that Echo, his drones can be outside for, let's say, 6 total seconds before getting disabled. And I want to say the same with Mozzie. Okay, so cool. Clash. This isn't like a quick fix. Obviously, I mentioned that when it comes to Clash, the big annoyance of her is her shield. The shield is the worst part, and it's super annoying. Quick fix to that. Well, okay, so here's the quick fix. I forgot to write it down, but so the quick fix: Callie and Glaz can shoot the shield and cause her to be stun locked for 6 or so seconds. Maybe not 6, 3 or so seconds. Much longer than it is now. With Callie now. And also Glaz can do it, right? So, it's above the Glaz and Callie. It's above the Glaz and Callie because now they can shoot the shield and it will actually do something. I mean, Callie can shoot the shield, but by the time it takes for her to cock her gun, she won't be able to kill her herself, right? Because, sure, she'll be stun locked for a moment, but in that amount of time, Clash can just put her shield back up, right? So, it gives Callie and Glaz the opportunity to stun lock the shield, which makes it a lot harder for Clash to just sit in a room, sit in a position, and hold that position, right? Now, considering that you have to choose Glaz or Callie, it's not necessarily a huge nerf to Clash, but it is definitely a step in the right direction until they do a complete rework. And replace the SP SMG9 with the USP-40. The USP-40 is pretty underutilized. I would say maybe one of the most underutilized pistols in the entire game, because for all of the operators where it's available, that being Oryx, Jackal, and Mira, they have some kind of secondary shotgun option, which is infinitely better for their specific operators. So yeah, no, it's no question. I think that the USP-40 should replace the SP SMG9, because the MP9 is so strong. It's so strong. It's really good. Maybe not like the best machine pistol in the game, but it's accurate and does a decent amount of damage, which is why I think it was a pretty nice buff to Callie whenever she did that. But yeah. Maestro, if you punch his Evil Eye twice, it will be disabled and the doors will not open. And you have to shoot a sensor to reactivate it, much like Surya Gates, except there's no cooldown. Also, his Evil Eyes can be destroyed by 4 shots from the CSRX and 9 shots from the OTS. So, the first part of this thing I'm going to put it in italics because that one is going to take a lot of development time, so I don't expect them to do that very quickly. You can't just add, hey, Surya Gate, attached to the Maestro Cam, you know what I mean? But like I said, if you punch his Evil Eye twice, it will be disabled and the doors are not open. That's a bit strong, but we'll see. You have to shoot a sensor above it to reactivate it, much like Surya Gates. So, instead of there being a cooldown, like with the Surya Gates, right, you have to wait like 10, 20, I don't remember, a lot of seconds for the Surya Gate to be reactivated again. With the Maestro camera in the new update, you can shoot it as soon as they punch it. As soon as they punch it, if you kill them, or even if you don't kill them, you can shoot it immediately as soon as it's disabled. So that's a nice change. Glaz, what were they thinking? Why did they give him the Gaunt 6? No, get that out of here. Give him back the GSH. Absurd. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. No. Don't. He shouldn't even have the Gaunt 6. Especially with the new destructive ability I'm giving him. What I'm looking at is I might maybe want to give him a different pistol. Ooh. No, I'm doing it. I don't care. The .44 mag auto. Oh my god. Glaz with a 44 mag auto. Come on. That you can't tell me that's not cool. That's hecka cool. That's really cool though, seriously. Maverick, AR-15 can shoot through plain windows just like Glaz and Cali. Glaz is now the only... Glaz and Maverick are the only ones with marksman rifles that have an 11-round magazine. One can shoot through windows walls, one can't. Make it to the Maverick's AR-15. It's a 50 Beowulf. Come on. It's a 50 Beowulf. It should be able to break through a glass window. Come on. I don't think that's crazy. I don't think that's overpowered. People still aren't going to use the AR-15, but it gives it a little bit more versatility. Whenever Jackal scans someone, the person... Oh, this one is a huge one. But I don't expect them to immediately add that. It's not going to be as simple as pressing a button, so we'll see. Whenever Jackal scans someone, the person who was scanned will... Oh, you know what? Actually, this one can be implemented immediately. But whenever Jackal scans someone, the person who was scanned will be shown as a HUD element which foot... I forgot add the word foot. Which foot it was that Jackal scanned. So if you're scanned by Jackal, you can look up and be like, he scanned that foot. That means he must be around that area somewhere. Also, the first scan won't happen immediately, but instead it will give the defender... I misspelled give. It will give the defender a warning for about 3 or so seconds, letting them know they're about to get scanned. So, the defender will still be scanned. They will still get scanned for the same amount of times, but instead of the scan happening immediately, the defender who's about to get scanned will get a 3-second warning. And I said this in my creation of video, which I may or may not upload. In my creation of video, I specified that means that there are circumstances, assuming that both of these things were implemented. There would be circumstances where you as the defender, right, because there's no risk with Jackal, for the most part, but there are situations, this would allow for situations where Jackal could scan a defender's footprint, and that would backfire, because, assuming, it depends on positioning, right? The defender could be in a close enough position where they are able to see that footprint got scanned, that means Jackal is right there, and then pop out and kill Jackal before they even get scanned. So it gives the defender the opportunity to fight back before they get scanned. It also gives them the opportunity to know that they're about to get scanned and reposition perhaps back to the objective. It's still a benefit to Jackal's team. All of Jackal's team is still going to know where that defender got scanned. But because now the defender who gets scanned knows which foot was scanned, so they know where Jackal is, and it gives them a warning, it gives the defender a much better possibility of fighting back. I think this is an amazing change. I love it. I am a huge fan. Next up, optional. Legion, I think Legion's goo mines are fine. I think Legion's relatively well balanced. So optional. His goo mines go back to doing initial tick damage of 2, but the first damage tick takes a second longer to happen. So not a major change at all. I think that with goo mines, when they did 10 damage, that was too strong, and people were like, well, you can't make it do no damage because there's all this stuff on the screen and whatnot, and it's confusing. It's like, no, you could just make it do like 2 damage. And I still hold to that, because I think that if they did 2 damage, I think that would be totally fine. Because right now, your goo mines aren't really doing anything other than giving away your position. If it did 2 damage, at least that's something. 10 damage was overpowered. Nobody will disagree with that. 2 damage? Come on. You're going to step in 50 goo mines? It's physically not even possible. I think this change is warranted. Smoke. His gas canister is a little harder to see through. Nah, I've already mentioned this multiple times. Twitch. Her shock drone should do, right. Her shock drone should do 4 damage regardless of armor instead of 1. So currently, it does 1 damage. Basically irrelevant. There's absolutely no point you would ever use that, ever. If it did 4 damage, though, now you're talking. You zap somebody 4 times, that does 12 damage. That's potentially enough to, actually down somebody. Apparently, I lost access to the internet. That's okay, I'm still recording. Also, her drone can jump, just as if it was a regular drone. And she has a regular drone as well. So this is a lot of major changes to Twitch, which you might be surprised about because, Twitch is relatively high on the pick rate, but she's still not particularly fun to play as. If people are playing Twitch and doing well, it's because they're using the F2. So we're going to nerf the F2 a little bit. And we're going to make her drone more viable, especially with Flores being in the game. There's not really any reason to use Twitch's drone, right? Not really. So, her shock drone should do 4 damage, or around 4, let's just say 4 to 7 damage. How about that? And when I say 4 to 7 damage, I mean you decide how much damage. I'm not saying how much damage it does is inconsistent. I mean, I haven't decided how much damage exactly, but it should do anywhere from 4 to 7 damage. That's what I mean, just to clarify. Also, it can jump, yes. Remove 1.5 as an option. You don't really need the 1.5 on the F2. It's already a very strong gun. I like everything else about it, so yeah, I think that's a nice and warranted change. Hibana. Her X-Kairos pellets can stick to deployable and Goyo shields and destroy them. Simple, small change. Gives Hibana a little bit more versatility, kind of aligns her with Ace a lot more, where she's able to destroy shields, but she only needs to fire 2 pellets to destroy the shield, so gives her a huge advantage there. Yana, infinite Gemini replicator duration. So I mentioned last time how, I had this great idea where, you can keep the drone in a specific position and it'll hold the angle. That would take a lot of development time, so this is a more simple solution. Also, considering that Yana is doing pretty well on the pick rate, or on the win rate, I don't think she needs any major changes. So, something as simple as giving it an infinite duration, or at least, let's say 300% to 1,000% longer or infinite Gemini replicator. So it can either be much longer or it'll be just straight up infinite. That should not be very difficult at all to program. Also, it can be spotted by observation tools. So, currently, by the way, it still won't have any heat signatures. So if you're on a Maestro cam or if you're on a bulletproof cam, there's still not going to be any heat signatures. So, yeah, I think that's fun. Amaru, give back her ITA-12S option. replace the Gaunt 6. No. She'll have 3. Sorry, don't replace the Gaunt 6. She can keep the Gaunt 6. Just give her 3 secondary options. So give back the IT-12S. She'll have 3 secondary options, and she'll get Adrenaline when grappling. Gives a temporary 5 HP boost, so she gets a bigger boost. She gets a little bit more health for like 5 seconds, and she also is a little bit faster for 5 seconds. And it stacks with Finka, because Amaru, currently there's no real reason for you to choose Amaru over other operators. Unless if you're just going in, like you're going in, you're going to be aggressive, right? So yeah, I think these are some nice changes. Echo! Oh, by the way, when I say stacks with Finka, what I mean is that if for Adrenaline, you get that 5 HP boost, but if Finka stims you, you'll have 25 extra HP. So you'll have 125 health for at least that 5-second duration, which I think is pretty significant. Echo, MP5SD gains 2 times scope. His drones can be outside for 6 total seconds without being disabled. So, yeah, simple as that, right? He has a 1.5 currently. That's the maximum scope he has. He's kind of a little bit low on the pick rate right now, so let's just give him an additional option of having a 2 times scope so he can see from even further away. I think that would be nice. Yeah, because his drone can be outside for 6 total seconds. I think, like, currently it's like 3 or 2 seconds he can be outside. No, let's make it 6 seconds, so you can look out, get an idea of where everybody is, and come back in before your drone gets disabled. Mozzie, same exact thing. His drones can be outside for 6 total seconds before getting disabled. I don't think that's a huge buff. Well, it could be. There's potential for it to be a huge buff, but I don't think that it will be game-breaking in any major capacity. Not any more game-breaking than Valkyrie is, at least. Nook, when her ability is active, whenever she steps past a Grujmot mine or Capcan trap, there will instead of God, I worded this weird. There will be a delay. Let's get rid of the word instead. There will be a delay to the activation of the gadget, rather than happening immediately. So, if she walks by a Capcan trap, and somebody else mentioned this in the comments, I might do a thing on the screen to show you, hey, this guy said it. But, so, Capcan traps, right? They're annoying. And Grujmot mines are also annoying. I still want them to exist. I don't want her to just be able to slowly go past it, right? So, instead, let's tweak it, right? If she goes past a Grujmot mine, sorry, I was thinking about what it's going to do with that Melusi. But whatever. If she goes past a Grujmot mine or goes within the range of a Capcan trap, it'll still detonate. It'll still explode and concuss or do damage. Potentially. But she has a little bit of extra time to get away. So if she runs into a Capcan trap, she can quickly run back before it explodes and does damage to her. So that way the defenders still know where she is. They'll know that somebody was there, and they'll know, in fact, that it's Nook. If they're close enough to hear it, they will hear the delay and be like, oh, I hear the sound of a delay of my gadget. That means that specifically Nook is specifically right there. So they'll still know. It just gives her the opportunity to get away before it does potential damage. More people calling me, dude. I've been called so many times. Yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do with her and the Melusi things. I think Melusi's had a decent enough buff that. Here's what I'll do. Here's what I'll say. When her gadget is active. Also, she must be, or let me specify, Nook must be 25% closer, 35% closer to a, well, let me rephrase that. Also, when her ability is active, Melusi Banshees have a decreased range. Decreased range of affecting Nook. So, what I mean by that is, currently in the test server, they were checking out, or not currently, but not too long ago in the test server, they were testing out Nook being able to go past Melusi Banshees and it not affecting her at all. She was able to run past it with absolutely no changes or effects to Nook. That's a bit too OP, so let's take it back a bit. How about, instead of the Banshees doing nothing to her, she has to be 35% closer to the Banshees in order to affect her. So, if she's close enough, it won't do anything. And let's also say, when I say past the Gurgement Mine or Capcan Trap, let's also say proximity alarm as well. Proximity alarm. Gurgement Mine or Capcan Trap. There will be a delay of the activation of the gadget rather than happening it immediately, giving her time to get out of the way, but still potentially warning defenders of her location. In the case of the proximity alarm, she would be able to destroy it fast enough. Well, she would be able to destroy all of these fast enough, but she would be able to move away fast enough that the gadget never gets activated. Also, when her ability of activate, so replace the 612 with the MP5SD. Nobody's using the 612. Let's be real. Nobody's using the 612. So, MP5SD. Same attachment options as Echo, including the 2x scope. So, I said Echo is going to get a 2x scope. When Nook also gets the MP5SD, she's also going to get a 2x scope. Replace the 5.7 USG with a Bailiff 410 because, the Bailiff is pretty good. And it's not used by any attackers. So, not only are we going to make it used by an attacker, we're also going to give it to Nook so she's able to destroy hatches on her own without having to bring a shotgun or using her grenades. Rook. Rook armor is explosive, melee, and bulletproof. You can only destroy it if you place it on top of a destructible surface. So if you put it on top of if you place it on the ground, it cannot be destroyed unless if you destroy the floor underneath it. So, you can place it on a hatch and destroy the hatch, and then the Rook armor is gone. If you place it on a, glass, I don't know where you could even place it on glass, but if you could potentially put it on glass and then destroy the glass, then it will destroy the Rook armor. But otherwise, you cannot destroy the Rook armor. That is to prevent trolling, for one thing, and also to make it more likely that the attackers can pick up Rook armor, which is exactly why I said the pack has 7 plates instead of 5. So, the thing is with Rook is that he's pretty decently picked, right? He's doing really well. Look how well he's doing. He's doing so extremely well. And the thing is with Rook, there's no counter to Rook. None. You cannot, use any specific gadget to counter Rook. The only way you can counter Rook and Dog is simply just by shooting and killing them. That is it. So, how about this? If Rook is going to be existing in a round, he has to have the potential to benefit the team, unless if the defending team goes out of their way to make sure specifically that the gadget cannot be used. You have to go you have to go and specifically place it on a hatch and willingly destroy that hatch in order to make sure that that Rook armor is not going to be able to be used by the defenders or by the attackers. And like I said, it'll have 7 pickups. So there's more counterplay, there's more unique gameplay opportunities, and also if you go down and you lose your Rook armor as a defender, you can go back up. You'll be picked back up, and you can go pick up even more Rook armor. So it's technically also kind of a buff to Rook, but it has the ability to be more useful to the attackers, which I think is good. And because they can't be exploded, like I said, it's a lot harder to destroy the Rook armor. So Orcs, when he dashes into a 3-speed enemy, it will do 20 damage. If he rams them into a wall, it will do 40 damage, right? So currently when you ram into someone as Orcs, it does nothing. So let's make it do something. Let's make it do 20 damage, not a whole bunch, but definitely a big punch gut. It'll do 20 damage if you just ram into them, but if you ran into them and they run into a wall, it'll do 40 damage. If it is a 2-speed, then it will do 15 damage if you ram into them, and 30 damage if they hit the wall. And if there are a 1-speed, so Gridlock, Monty, and Fuse, which I think are the only 1-speeds on attack now, but if they are a 1-speed, it will do 10 damage and 20 damage respectively. So it'll do 10 damage if they just get rammed into, and 20 damage if they get rammed into a wall. Also, he can climb hatches 10% faster and can also cancel the climb animation halfway through. This is the most annoying thing about playing Orcs, is that you start to climb and then you see, oh, somebody's about to kill me, and there's nothing you can do. You have no opportunity to cancel it. That is so annoying as an Orcs player. So, how about this? Make it so that you don't have to necessarily make it like, I climb the hatch immediately. I know that would be kind of overpowered. So, how about this? If I start to climb the hatch and I realize it's a mistake, I can cancel it halfway through and get back to safety. I don't think there's any problem with that. I don't see the benefit to anybody in forcing Orcs players to commit to their decision when it could lead to their death. Obviously, it could be like, oh, you have to put more risk into it, but when it comes to climbing hatches, why would you want to make it more difficult? You want it to make it more easy, right? I don't know. As an Orcs player, I think this would be a good change. And like I said, it's not like they, get a jail out of free card. It's just that, like, oh shit, somebody's about to shoot me. Fall back. Mira, if her windows are shot by Callie or Glaz, it will take 3 and 7 shots respectively to create a hole/impulse in the window, meaning you can see and shoot through it. This of course has the potential to backfire on the attackers, but gives rooms for attackers to make it more difficult for the windows to give safe information. Also, for Vector 45, the EOTech is replaced with the MH1. So, yeah, worse holographic, but more importantly, Glaz and Callie can shoot the mirror windows and create holes in them. I think that's cool. Now, Maverick with his AR-15 cannot do that, and I think that's fine. But specifically, Glaz and Callie, they have a powerful enough weapon that they will be able to break and shatter and cause impulses in the glass. And this is a relatively large impulse. Now, I won't destroy the glass immediately, because I think that would be overpowered. But, if you aren't actively fighting back against that Callie and Glaz, they will create holes in your window, which might benefit you, but it also means that you have a lot less cover to work with. So if they create, 2 impulses in your mirror window, basically the mirror window is completely gone. So, yeah, I think that would be cool. Warden, when his glasses are active, he will be given 2 little indicators on the right-hand side of the... so this one's going to take a long time to implement, as well as this one, right? So these 2 will take a long time to implement. This one right here, all of these above, they shouldn't be. They just boom like that. All right. So, Warden, when his glasses are active, he will be given 2 little indicators on the right-hand side or left-hand side of the screen. It can be light gray or the same color as the bars or whatever. One of which will tell him how many attacker gadgets, like drones, claymores, and air jabs, are within a 15 meteor radius. Right? So it'll tell him there is 5 gadgets within a 15 meteor radius of you. If there are 5 gadgets within a 15 meteor radius. If there is 3 gadgets, it'll tell him that. If he's more than 15 meters away, it will not tell him. But if he is 15 meters away, it will tell him. Not only that, it will one of the gadgets right here, as I'll say right here, and the other indicator will tell him the exact distance of the closest gadget to him. So, obviously, if there's like 5 different gadgets, you can't show the distance of all 5 gadgets, but it can show the distance of one or two, or sorry, of the closest one. So, like, if there's one gadget within a 15 meteor radius of you, and you activate your gadget as Warden, you'll see, oh, there's one gadget, and it's like 13 meters away, and you start to like move back and forth and side and left, and see how close you are getting to it, and you can kind of like, not red light, green light. You can kind of like warm or colder it and get an idea of where it is by seeing how the distance changes as you get closer or further away from it. It doesn't tell you the direction, so like I said, it'll only just tell you the closest gadget within a 15-meter radius and how close you are to it. And it helps you get an idea of where it is without explicitly saying it. Because some people are like, just make it like IQ. I don't think that would be good. I think this would be more fun, it would be more interesting, and it would be very unique. So that's why I like it. Also, replace the MPX with the MX4. Same attachment options as he had on the MPX. So instead of having the MPX, he instead has the MX4, but he keeps his 1.5 times scope on it. So there you go. And I also mentioned the Kavera extended interrogation. Check out the other video. I mentioned that. All right, last but not least, general weapon changes. The M249 SAW, SMG 11 and 12, and the 9mm C1 will all lose 1 bullet in capacity, but will instead have only tactical reloads because they're open bolt firearms. So, if you think about it, these weapons right here, these magazine-loaded, these magazine-fed weapons, they're all open bolt, so they should not be able to have 1 bullet in the chamber. Did I forget the T5 SMG? I meant to say also the T5 SMG. So they would all lose 1 bullet. So, for example, the T5, its magazine capacity would go from 31 to 30. 9mm C1, it would go from, 35 to 34, or 36 to 35, something like that. The SMG 11, the SMG 12, they would go from whatever they are now to 1 less. I think it's like, it would go from 17 to 16 and 33 to 32, if I'm not mistaken. But there is no extended reload. So, because, like I said, they're open bolt firearms. So, there's no such thing as, putting one in the chamber because it's open bolt. So, there we go. The FMG9 will have a 32. Also, you know what we could do? Also, it takes 0.1 seconds longer for the bullet to fire after the trigger has been pressed. Also, let's remove... never mind. I was going to say remove the option for single semi-automatic. Remove option for well, let's do that. Remove option for semi-automatic to any of these weapons that have it. This is just to make it a little bit more realistic. FMG9, currently, it has a 30+1 round magazine. Those don't exist with the variant of the FMG9 that we see in-game, so give it a 32+1 round magazine. It gets 2 extra bullets, and this isn't even necessarily like a buff. I mean, it's technically a buff. You get 2 extra bullets to work with, but this is less because of balancing and more because of realism, because... why not, right? Let's throw an extra 2 bullets in the magazine. Who cares? Make it realistic. Give a little bit of a balancing tweak to Smoke and Nook. Why not? Similarly to the first part here, we have the FMG9, the ALDA M249 LMG. They will all have 1 additional bullet to their capacity, and during tactical reloads, the charging handle will not be pulled, making a slightly faster reload animation. So, yeah, you have the LMGE, which has a 150 round mag. Instead, it'll have a 151 round mag. M249 has a 100 round. When I say mag, sorry, it's not a magazine. A 100 round belt, right? Sorry, LMGE, M249, they'll have a 150 and 100 round belt, respectively. And the ALDA will have an 80 round belt. And instead, they'll have 81, 101, and 151 round belts. Last but not least, the Gun 6 will have 2 shots. This one's going to take a little bit longer because I understand that it takes time to develop reload animations. So, The Gon 6 will have 2 shots with a new reload animation. It will also do 60 damage, regardless of armor, if it is a direct hit. So instead of it doing 20 damage or whatever it does now, it does 60 damage. So there you go. That's it. I need to make this video short because I need to get back to doing other stuff. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Check out my other videos where I also explain other stuff. And peace.